What up, what up, what up, Entourage? Welcome. As you can see, we're starting a little earlier today. I figured the earlier I start, the more people I could reach. Some of you guys might be on your lunch break. Some of you might be in school and sneaking in and watching me on your lunch break as well. Or if you're on the West Coast, maybe you're getting up, you're going from the gym. But yeah, we'll see how this works out, guys. Today, we're going to go over what you guys love talking about, trades, in this week's edition of Buy, Sell, Hold. Let's get into it. We were supposed to get into it, and sometimes it's the fantasy football Entourage for winning. All right, so I expect there will be less people on live, but if you're catching this on the replay, today we are going to go over players that, here's the thing. When I say sell a player, it doesn't mean that they're bad players. It just means that they're at a point where you could probably get the maximum return, and their value is probably not going to be any higher than what it currently is. If I say to buy a player, it doesn't mean that they're a league winner. It just means that they've gotten to the point where I think they could outproduce what their current market value is. And players that are on the hold list, they're typically players that have not played, particularly well recently, and you don't quite want to give up. You don't want to sell them low, or they're players that we need to see more, or they're players that are doing really good, and I think they can keep it up. Okay, that's kind of how it goes. All right. And if you guys are interested in my full list of trade targets or buy, sell, holds, that is included in my premium product, which I send 4 emails out a week. You get your waiver targets and hidden gems. You get your complete list of trade targets, buy, sell, hold. You get a rankings, my weekly rankings. Tomorrow is the first edition, so you know who to start for the Thursday night game if you have players in that game. And then I do a revised version on Saturday. It's only $20 the whole season. The whole season. You get 4 emails a week for $20. It's a no-brainer, or it's $5 a month, up to you. But if it's something that interests you, DM me at Fantasy Football Rapper on Instagram. You can leave a comment or email me, fantasyfootballrapper@gmail.com. Well, let's get into why we are here, okay? My first buy, I don't think it's going to be that much of a shocker, especially if you're familiar with the rapper. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe, like, leave a comment. Tell me how you feel. And thank you guys also for all the beautiful comments you have left me. I read all of them. I'm very, very, very appreciative from the bottom of my heart to be in a position where people want to hear what I say about something that I love to play. So it doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you guys. All right. So Saquon Barkley, simply put, he passed the eye test. Okay. And I don't know when I talked about this because I do a lot of lives, and obviously I talk fantasy football all the time. But the reference I gave, so 2 years ago, Barkley suffered his first kind of major injury. He had a high ankle sprain, right? And then miraculously, he came back. I don't know. It was supposed to be 6 to 8 weeks. He came back in 4 or 5 weeks, okay? And he didn't quite look the same. I noticed it in his running. It took another like 4 weeks for him to be like the Barkley we know. But at the end of the 2019 season, he was the Barkley that we knew. He had that great game against Philly, who's usually really tough against running backs, where he just kind of like snuffed the guy, and then he totally killed Miami. I remember I was watching that game. I had him in my DFS lineup. I was in the DraftKings championship that year, and I started him, and I was happy, and he looked like the Barkley of old. So had big aspirations going into the 2020 season. We all know what happened. Okay. But I say that to say this. When I watched Barkley week 1, he looked like that same Barkley in the DraftKings championship. He didn't look like the Barkley that came back from the ankle sprain. Well, we have to realize, guys, I know everybody talks about the ACL like it's the most tragic thing ever. I remember a couple years back, I had a disagreement with the analyst regarding Cooper Kupp because he said that Cooper Kupp is not going to be the same coming off of ACL. I was like, dude, we saw Jordy Nelson lead the league in touchdowns after an ACL. We saw Edelman catch 100+ receptions. We've seen AP rush for 2,000 yards. Jamal Charles come back and rush for 1,500. And here's the thing, guys. They did it in way less time. When Cooper Kupp got his ACL, I think it was like week 11. Same thing. I think AP came back in like 6 months or 9 months or whatever the case may be. Barkley got injured the first game in the 2020 season. Now, I think what happened was that people made a bigger deal about it because I think the Giants were just coddling him. I think they're just playing it super safe. Joe Judge, he's from the Belichick tree. They don't like, revealing a lot of injury news. I just think they were taking care of their prized possession. Because when I see him on the field, like I said, he looks like the end of 2019 Barkley, like peak Barkley. But I also think they're easing him in there. Now, week 1, barely had any touches. Week 2, on a short week, may I add, against the Washington defense that they're a lot better than they're playing right now. Remember, guys, when it comes to, and this is why I don't usually bet on Thursday night games or do DraftKings or things like that, because they're just screwy games. For those who don't know, a team does not game plan for Thursday because they play Sunday, Monday's a walkthrough, Tuesday will be one practice, and then Wednesday they're flying. So there's literally one practice, so they don't have time to game plan. So if you see Washington's defense or New York Giants defense play like they did, that's not a true reflection of who they are. So if somebody dropped Washington's defense, pick them up. With that said, on a short week, they still increased Barkley's snaps. I think he played like 80%. Didn't have that many touches, but again, tough defense. So long story short, all the pieces are aligned for Barkley to really take off because Denver's got one of the best defenses. Team Washington has one of the best defenses. He still had a nice run, 42-yard run, nothing to snooze out of, off a guy with an ACL. And Barkley is probably the only player that when he's at his peak can rival CMC. Okay? And this is your last chance to get him. This is it. I'm telling you that right now. So do whatever it takes. You don't have to lowball the person. You could give him a fair deal. But whatever deal you give to get Barkley, I'm pretty sure you're going to get 110% on your returns. All right. Second player, this again, is no surprise to anybody who's been following my content. And here's the thing, guys, and I mentioned this before. There's a difference between being hard-headed and being stuck on a player and not losing faith on a player because of your conviction, because of your studies, of your research. DK's done this before, guys. Done this. What I mean by done this is DK's been that dude. For the first half of last season, I believe he was like top 2 or 3. Okay. And he's top 10 in targets. Top 10 in targets. So talent over everything. Follow the volume. DK's got both. Yes, Tyler Lockett has shined, and he will. He's had these blow-up games before. But make no mistake about it. DK is the guy you want. And right now, another one of those situations, he hasn't quite blown up, and fantasy owners get impatient. I'm one of them. I'm quick to cut a player off, by the way, guys. I don't have that foolish pride. Like, I just don't. Like, if I'm wrong on a call, I'm like, all right, on to the next one, because that's fantasy football. We don't get them all right. As a matter of fact, most analysts get more wrong than they do right. And it's tough. And it's tough because I've also mentioned this before. 50% of players bust or get injured. It's just the nature of the game. So it's a tough sport. But DK is not the guy you want to give up on. DK is the guy you want to go and get. Because he will, I would not be surprised if he blows up week 3, similarly to Barkley. Last but not least, another player we got to be high on. Well, not based on his play, but based on his talent. Again, Josh Allen is 3 consecutive years now that he's been a really, really, really good quarterback, top 5. Last year, he was 1 or 2, I forget. It was either him or Murray. And again, we got to look at the whole thing. Week 1, he faced Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's a damn good defense. Don't let Derek Carr fool you. You know, this was not the same defense that Josh Allen played. Make no mistake about it. They were out Devin Bush, their middle linebacker. That's their quarterback of their defense. They were out their best corner, Joe Hayden. And then TJ Watt played less than a half. Arguably the best defensive player in the league. Okay? Week 2, Miami's run D is trash. All right? But their pass D is pretty good. And that's why Josh Allen ran for, I think, 35 yards. But passing, he didn't have a great game. But here's the thing, guys. Did Miami put up any points? So what did Josh Allen really need to do? I'll tell you what you need to do. You need to go get him. He's elite. He's a running quarterback. And he can sling it. And he got weapons. Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders, Gabriel Davis, Cole Beasley. Knox isn't that bad. The running backs are okay. And he can run. Like, go get that man. And there's very few times to tell you to go get a quarterback. But Josh Allen could tell the sentiment down. Again, fantasy owners get impatient. You could probably get him for a steal. That'll be a big bonus to you. Now for my sell list. Oh, this is going to ruffle some feathers. I know. And listen, true story. Aaron Jones is the nicest athlete / celebrity I have ever met in my life. The dude is rookie year gave me his personal phone number. He never answered my text, but he gave me his personal phone number. Like, that's how nice of a guy he is. Very like, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful human being. And a damn good football player. Like, it ain't one of those things where I'm telling you to sell Aaron Jones because he ain't fucking awesome as a person, as an athlete. He's super talented. He could catch the football. He could run the football. He does his best against the toughest competition. So why am I telling you to sell him? Here's why. Number 1, he faced Detroit. He always kills Detroit. Always. Number 2, what I tell you about sell high. You want to get the player at his utmost value. Well, guess what? Barkley's down. Antonio Gibson's down. Jonathan Taylor's down. That automatically escalates Aaron Jones to like top 3 status in most owners' minds. Okay. I wasn't as high on Aaron Jones this season. I mean, I still had him as an RB1. I still had him over CEH, and, you know, I wasn't that crazy. But I just feel like Aaron Jones could sometimes be inconsistent, to no fault of his, by the way. No, like I said, all this has nothing to do with Aaron Jones. It all has to do with Matt LaFleur and him coming off a great game against Detroit. Okay, so yeah, I just think right now owners are, it's pretty much probably in owners' heads. It's like CMC, maybe Dalvin Cook, because, you know, he's been scaring everybody with these near injuries. But we'll give Dalvin Cook the benefit of the doubt. Derrick Henry, and then Aaron Jones, sentiment-wise, right? Because the week before, he was non-existent. And again, we have to look at everything like New Orleans. Nobody runs on New Orleans. They just don't, okay? But I think if you could get the King's ransom right now coming off that 40-point game, I think you do it. And again, he'll have other blow-up games. But I've seen Aaron Jones, like I follow him closely. I've seen Aaron Jones lay clunkers against like softball matchups. And then I've seen him in the toughest matchups just come through because he's just so good. But you never know how LaFleur is going to use him. And sometimes they tend to drift away. And, one more thing. Green Bay's defense sucks. Horrible. Which means you're going to have to throw the ball. There's going to be a lot of shootouts. So that's also going to limit Aaron Jones' opportunities. And A.J. Jones pretty good, even though surprisingly they gave Aaron Jones, a significant I forgot to look at the snap count, but when I was watching the game, it seemed like he was in there quite a bit. So, but we'll see how that plays out. You know what I'm saying? But again, it's not because I don't like Aaron Jones. I love Aaron Jones. Don't like Matt LaFleur. All right. Damian Harris had 100 yards rushing on the Miami Dolphins, and then Devin Singletary had a good game, mainly on a long, like 40-something yard run he had. So again, the nature of the beast is sell high. Devin Singletary had almost 80%, between 70 and 80% of the snaps week 1. Zach Moss was inactive. Week 2, he also had the lion's share of the backfield, and he's coming off a touchdown. People are feeling good. It's like, oh, my man Singletary, great. Late round steal. That's when you want to sell him. Because, guys, again, Miami's pass defense is good. Their run defense looks like total shit. And you could probably get something, anything. I would take, any decent player, any solid wide receiver 3, wide receiver 2, I would take for Singletary. And because running back has been so shit, outside of Henry, and CMC, who really had a good game? Cook was decent, didn't have a touchdown. But nobody really had a good game. So that automatically propels you to a higher status. And I think now would be the time to sell Singletary because, again, had a lot of snaps. Miami's trash. But best believe Buffalo's going to get back to doing what they do best, slinging the football with all those receivers. And Zach Moss, I think, will continue to tap into that snap count and share. He's more fit for the goal line back, and he did have 2 cheap touchdowns. And he's also the better receiver. So where does Singletary fit in? Oh, and then you got Josh Allen running the football. Like I said, there's different players, like Aaron Jones, for instance. Aaron Jones, I'm only accepting a King's ransom for Aaron Jones. I'm not, it's not like Singletary where I'm not picky. Like, and I let you guys know what angle you should take. You know what I'm saying? But, Singletary in a week or 2 is going to be borderline droppable. So, get rid of him while he's hot. Another guy, Gronkowski. Everybody feeling good right now. Oh, I got Gronkowski off the waiver. 2 touchdowns. I got him for free. Boo, 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 boo. Who Gronk played his first 2 weeks? Dallas, horrible against the tight end. Atlanta, even worse. Again, one of those situations, guys. We got to look at the whole thing. Gronk's off to a great start, but 2 touchdowns week 1, 2 touchdowns week 2. Do you think his value is going to get any higher than it is right now? Especially that we got like 3 tight ends doing anything. Waller, Kelsey. Fant had a touchdown. Logan Thomas has looked decent. Oh, and Hawk. And Kyle Pitts, he's getting work. I think Kyle Pitts should buy him too. There's a bonus for you. But outside of that, people are just starving for a tight end. So why not take advantage? I would. Gronk is going to have some clunkers. Sorry about that. Gronk is going to have some clunkers. Believe me. Bruce Arians doesn't like targeting tight ends. Never know. OJ Howard might sneak in a touchdown. And, yeah, he's not going to face every week Dallas and Atlanta. So, yeah, now's the time. Now's the time. You could probably, like I said, because there's such a demand for the tight end positions, I see people overpay for tight ends more than any other position. Now's the time. Now for our holds. I love this guy. I do. I've always liked Courtland Sutton. Since he was a rookie, I was telling y'all about Courtland Sutton. I tried so hard to get him on my dynasty. I tried so hard to tell y'all. I tried so hard to get him in my leagues. I think I ended up getting him in one league, the Followers League. He's a really, really, really good football player and really, really good talent, guys. Like, if you watch this guy, he can make bad quarterbacks good. And Denver has had nothing but bad quarterbacks, and the dude balled. And Teddy Bridgewater's nothing special, but he's good enough because Courtland Sutton's so good. He's really good, guys. And yes, he had a softball matchup against the Jags, but still, 9 catches, 128 yards. And no Jerry Jeudy for a while. And even when Jeudy comes back, I said this before, Courtland Sutton is the guy. So I like him better than Jeudy. And we'll see who's the best receiver. But I still think Courtland Sutton is that dude. And yeah, I'm telling you to hold him because I think he's obviously going to get extra targets. He's super talented. And Teddy Bridgewater is good enough. So I don't think he's a sell high. No, I don't. I think he could keep it up. Maybe not every game getting 9 catches, 128 yards. That's ridiculous. But he'll be consistent. He'll be in that wide receiver 2 range week in and week out. And that's what we look for. So, yeah, don't get cute. Be happy you got him in the 6th round and hold on to him. He's a good player. Now, as you guys know, I've never been a CEH guy as far as like I thought CEH could be good, but you've never seen me post a bunch of content on CEH. As a matter of fact, last year, I was lower on him than most fantasy analysts. I wasn't low on him. I still think I had him. I didn't have him in the 1st round though. Like most analysts, if we remember last year, they had him in the 1st round. I did not. I had him in the high 2nd. Obviously, that wasn't a good call either, but I still had him lower than most because I think I went over this yesterday that my pro comp to CEH was Danny Woodhead and Devin Singletary, like a better version. And then all of a sudden he goes on the Chiefs and people are just blowing their mind because like, oh, you know, everybody's like comparing him to Brian Westbrook and thinking we're having a reincarnation of that. But the truth of the matter is when you got arguably the best tight end, arguably the best receiver on your team, and a quarterback that loves to sling it, one of the strongest arms in the league, he's not going to spend his time just dinking and dunking to CEH, which is a huge part of his game. He's not a tremendous athlete. He's not fast. He's not big. Andy Reid's never been the type to feed his running backs. I was talking about this yesterday as well. Even when they had Kareem Hunt came out of nowhere, killed the New England Patriots week 1, and then he became like kind of like a dud. And then Matt Nagy took over the play calls, and then Kareem Hunt took off again and ended up being the number 1 running back that year. Okay? But Andy Reid's always been a little finicky with the running backs. Never been consistent. Jamal Charles would have some blow-up games, but then Andy Reid would do dumb shit like take his running back out in the red zone, go long periods without using him. Andy Reid does that shit. He just does. But so why do I have him as a hold after I just pretty much, dogged him? Because I still think he's a good player. And I actually watched his preseason snaps. And last year, a lot of people don't know this, he averaged over 5 yards per carry. He can catch the football. And let's face it, guys, he's on a potent offense. That means a lot. When you're on the Kansas City Chiefs offense, just being a part of that offense and being the lead back, and he is getting a lot of, snaps, high snap percentage. So I think there'll be better days. I just do. The Ravens was a shootout. The week before that, the Browns was a shootout. So, and here's the thing too, guys. As the weather cools, later on in the season, the running backs become more prevalent. It gets harder to throw the football, so you want to run the football more. We've seen it time on. Look at all the running backs that came on last year at the second half. Antonio Gibson, Jonathan Taylor, Dobbins, Derrick Henry. We had a lot of running backs, and that happens every year, especially in the cold weather places. So I would hold CH. Especially, what are you going to get for CH right now? The sentiment is horrible. I would hold him, and I'd lean closer to buying him as well. So yeah, if you're a CH owner, I know you're not happy right now, but there'll be better days. He's not going to be the CH that everybody thought he was going to be last season when people were drafting him number 1 overall in Dynasty. I was so happy Jonathan Taylor fell to me. But he'll be better than what he's been, for sure. All right. I'm happy to see there's 23 of you guys on. So 23 of y'all are just degenerates and have no job, don't go to school, which makes me happy. It means you're living your life. So I'm quite delighted to see around the same amount of people that I see at 4 o'clock. So that gives me the okay to keep doing it at 12 because I want to start doing these early. Ideally, I would like to do it at 9, but I don't know if that's going to be a possibility right now. All right, so now you know what time it is. It's your time. What questions we got? Should I drop Zach Pascal for Christian Kirk, KJ Osborne, or Emmanuel Sanders? I mean, I think all those are kind of trashy, to be quite frank. They really shouldn't be rostered on a good team. But let me tell you something. I got KJ Osborne on one of my teams, but it has deeper benches. So, if you're in a deeper league, if you got deeper benches, I get it. But there's maybe KJ Osborne, since he's had 2 consistent weeks. Zach Pascal might be without Wentz, but I mean, those are all kind of like whatever players. Hopefully you never have to use them. You know what I'm saying? But I'd give KJ a try out of those guys. I love Stephon Diggs to be a buy if he can be acquired. After this matchup versus Washington, he gets Houston, KC, and Titans, arguably the worst secondaries. Yeah, I wasn't looking that far ahead, but I agree. Hey, Rapper, Barkley had a big run, and the other 10 attempts were for negative yards. Not concerned. It's football. Let's focus on the positive. The positive is Barkley's so good that at any given moment he could give you 40 yards. And you see that all the time, guys. And it's going to happen more because he didn't have a lot of touches. So it's one of those things, especially when you're going against good defense, guys. Washington is a really good defense. It's like one of those things. Like, look at Derrick Henry. First half, he had like 30 yards. But when you keep poking, boom, it breaks. The special ones do that. So, no, I'm not concerned. Drop Rojo for Gainwell. I mean, that's fine. I have a good one for you. Someone proposed Godwin and Drake for Monty and Ayuk. I mean, I'd have to see a roster, but it's almost like point swapping. I think there'll be better days for Ayuk. So it's almost like Monty for Godwin. So then it comes down to, what your roster is like. So, yeah, I don't feel strongly one way or another about that. In a 12-team 2 QB super flex league, should I be aggressive or conservative with my weekly waiver priority? We have a thin waiver wire every week, and so far I've been aggressive. I mean, that's a blanket question. I'm aggressive if there's a player to be aggressive for. You don't hold your fob if there's a good player. If there's somebody worth it, but if you're being aggressive for marginal players that may or may never see your lineup, then that's just reckless spending, Should we be concerned about Gibson? I'm not. Hope Jay Fields can make Kemet great. Me too. You're working your own boss. I'd love to hear that. Add Jeffrey Wilson to your IR spot. I mean, if there's nobody there, sure, why not? I mean, it doesn't hurt. I don't think Wilson's anything special, but the way Niners running backs are dropping right now, then sure. Dalvin Cook, Kittle for Lockett. Hold on. Dalvin Cook, Kittle for Lockett, Hawk, D. Harris. Dalvin Cook, Kittle for Lockett, Hawk, D. Harris. No, I wouldn't do that. How do you feel about Mike Davis now that Patterson seems to be getting the red zone opportunities? I mean, I wouldn't trust Patterson. You know what I'm saying? I think that might have been a fluke. We'll see, but I mean, how long has Patterson been in the league? He's had a couple good games, but like, not buying it. Kyler Murray, but Mike Davis is not a good offense, but I think he'll be better than what we've seen. Kyler Murray for Tom Brady and A-Rob. Am I wired? That's not bad. Well, I don't know. Kyler Murray's pretty fucking good. It's one of those things, like, that's why I have a private group, because anybody in my private group, ask them. Before they ask me a question, I say, show me your roster, your complete roster, your scoring system, because sometimes, that might be okay for one team, but it might not be okay for another team. So I can't really answer that without knowing your complete roster. I just can't. Is Kittle a buy if the price is right? Yeah. I mean, Kittle worries me because he's a little injury prone. He's got shoulder issues and things like that. But I think he's at the point where he's so cheap right now, he's worth the risk. You know what I'm saying? Start Stafford or Bridgewater this week. Yeah, you got to start Stafford. I haven't looked at the schedule, but you have to start Stafford regardless. Can we rely on Kirk Cousins fantasy-wise through the season? Have we ever been able to rely on Kirk Cousins? Someone dropped you. Drop Latavius Murray or Trey Sermon. Murray. Hurts over Stafford. Thoughts? Acquired pilots. I don't know if you're talking about this week. I haven't looked at the games yet, so I'm not doing start-sit questions. So that's acquired Parler off waivers. Good move. Yeah, I think Parler. I don't think Parler is like your savior or anything, but he's rosterable. Looks like you got good backs though. Aaron Rodgers or D Jones. Who would you pick to start? I'm not doing start-sits. Actually, I'm going to be getting off. So any last questions, let me know. I got some stuff to do. And then we'll do tomorrow. I'll have a rankings. It'll be my first ranking, so I'll probably do like top 10 rankings for each position. And then you could ask star sits there, and then I'll preview on Friday, Saturday DFS, and then I do a private live for my Facebook group on Saturday, and I'll be airing that on Sunday. So a lot of you guys will have similar questions, so you can watch that. Would you sell Antonio Brown for Carolina's defense and Elijah Moore? I actually would, but it also depends who you got to drop. But probably, yeah. Would you start Herbert or just said no start sits? I haven't even looked at the games, guys. I'm focused on waivers, focused on trades. Today I'll start looking at stuff. Tomorrow's really when I start looking at stuff. Who are your top 5 running backs PPR right now? I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow. All right. Until next time, guys.